Let's speak with Gary. Morning to you, Gary.
Morning.
I was saying a second ago to one of our guests there, we tend to hear more about women being victims, but as a man, you've been a victim too.
I have, yes. Yes, I had over 20 years.
Tell us what happened, Gary.
We got together. She was nice. She was loving and everything. We had a really good time. We moved in together, and then she started controlling. I don't want you seeing your family. I don't want you seeing your friends. I wasn't allowed to bath or wash for days. If I did, she wanted to know why, who I was seeing. And I said to her, "You're very insecure," and it didn't make no difference. And as the time went on, we had 2 children, and she used to phone me up at work and say to me, "If you don't come home, I'm going to kill the children." And I used to have to leave work and go home. That cost me several jobs. And she was violent all the time. The neighbours used to phone the police. When the police rolled up, she would say that it was me that was violent and I would be arrested. And it got to the stage where she had several boyfriends, and when she was with one boyfriend, she had nowhere to go, so she would come home and start arguments and fighting, and she would pull her own hair, phone the police and say that it was me that had done it, and I was being arrested every other night and put in the cells. I tried to explain it to the police. They didn't want to know. They said, "Don't be so silly. How could somebody of your size and her size, how could she abuse you?"
You had to deal with that kind of stereotype.
Yeah, and it went on, and it wasn't until one evening when there was a big argument. One of my neighbours phoned the police again, and the police rolled up, and it was a policewoman this time, and she walked in and she said to me, "How are you, Gary?" And I went, "Yeah, not too bad." She said, "You know what's going to happen now?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's all right." I said, "I've had a night out. I'm be a night in the cells again." And I said, "It's every other night." She went, "I know, I'm as fed up with it as what you are." She said, "I don't understand why we don't arrest her instead of you, and let her see what it's like to be in the cells." And I turned around and said to her, "Well, I think tonight you might have to." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because before I go to the cells, I need to go to the hospital to have this removed." And I turned around and I had 4 knitting needles sticking out my back.
My goodness.
And I was taken to hospital. Apparently she couldn't be arrested because she claimed that she was suffering with mental health problems. What I didn't know until later was that she had been to her doctors and telling him for years that I'd been domestically abusing her. And he had been putting it on her notes that she was being domestically abused by her husband and everything. And eventually I left. Took one of my children with me and I left.
You again, it's the same question that always comes up at these times. Why did you wait 18, 19 years to leave?
Because I had 2 children. I had 2 children I had to look after. The first 5 years, I should have got out. I admit that I should have got out of it. Even my family said that. But then the children came along and I had to look after them. And I said to my son and my daughter that I would leave, that I wasn't going to be about. I would leave as soon as I knew they was old enough to look after themselves. So when they got to 15, I decided that I would leave.
Did you ever, during any of these kind of attacks or this level of abuse, did you ever try to rationalise with her and say, what is this all about? Where is this coming from? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, I tried explaining to her that sometimes when I was late home from work, she would say, "Oh, who have you been with? You've been with some whore or some slut and everything," and things like this. And I used to say to her, "Don't be so silly. I never go anywhere." I said, "Look at me." I said, "My hair's all greasy. You're not allowing me to wash or anything." I said, "Why would anybody want to go with me?" And she went, "Oh, I know what you men are like," and this is how she went on.
What's your relationship with your kids like now? Are they able to see a different side to this? Do they understand what actually happened?
My son was really supportive when we left. He was really supportive, even though he was only sort of 15, and he knew what was going on. And my daughter didn't. She blamed her father, and then eventually she got contact with me, and she said, "I realise now that it wasn't you; it was all her." And that the way she is now is the way she's always been.
So you have a relationship now with your kids?
I have a brilliant relationship with my kids, absolutely brilliant. I have more of a relationship with them than what their mother does.
I'm sure.
Neither of them have got any time for their mother because of the way she still is.
How long does this go back to, Gary? How long ago did you get out?
I got out about, it must be 15 years now.
Okay. And what is the status of your ex?
The status of my ex, several boyfriends here, boyfriends there. When I first left and I met other people, she would roll up and start claiming that I'd had sex with her and that I was seeing her and break those relationships up and things like this. And
do you hate her or feel sorry for her?
I feel sorry for her. At first, I hated her. I really did hate her. And now I just feel sorry for her because I look at her and I think, look at you, you're all on your own, apart from these men that are drifting in and out of your life.
Sure.
The children don't want nothing to do with you. And you've got a sad life. You've got a really sad, lonely life. And she says to me, oh, look at you now. She said, you've got house, you've got cars, you live in a really good area, you've got everything, and I always love you, I will always love you, I'll always be there for you. Mm. And I have to try and explain to her, look, I don't want to know. It's not going to happen. There's never going to be me and you again.
Well, it cost you 2 decades of your life, of course.
It did, yeah. Well,
listen, Gary, thank you for coming on. Gary, not his real name, just